Hello again, I'm Robert Fithin, and just recently I bought a huge record collection, an entire record collection. Lately I've been buying, like a box full of records here and there at estate sales and whatever, but this time around, just an entire collection, almost 200 albums, basically. Just thought I'd go ahead and go for it, and I did, and I'm really glad I did because it's a great collection. A lot of basic general rock titles, but all of them super clean. A lot of them still in the shrink wrap. Somebody really took great care of these. And not only was I able to get some cool stuff that I didn't have before, but I was actually able to replace some of my albums with ones that were in better conditions or earlier versions, like the Blue Cheer with the Owsley quote on the back where it has his full name, all that good stuff. But yeah, I was really happy. And then the rest I'm probably going to, I'm going to purge and then try to make some of the money back. So all works out. But some of the ones, I'll just show you a few of the cooler ones that I got in here. Black Sabbath Paranoid, a pretty general release, right? But this is actually, if you'll notice, the quadraphonic version of Black Sabbath Paranoid. And I've never seen this, but listen, you open it up and it still does the creaking thing. But like I said, these are in great condition. And the quadraphonic I'd never even seen anywhere before. Definitely never heard before. And when I listen to it, I don't have a quad system. So it's that, listening to a basic 2-channel system. It has the basic quad sound where it's heavy on the bass, a lot of kind of gimmicky panning effects like the early stereo. They do that with the early quadraphonic as well. Ozzy's vocals are, on one channel, then they bounce to the other channel. The beginning of Paranoid, the guitar, do, 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 and then it repeats it. Does it on one channel, then does it on the other. Through the most thing, Ozzy's vocals are very much echoey. Again, I don't know how it sounds on an actual quad system, but just listening on a 2-channel system, he sounds very much in the background and very echoey. What's really brought out, though, is the guitar. Tony Iommi's guitar, and, you got Bill Ward's drums, especially the drum solo on Rat Salad, just really has a lot of punch to it. Really sounds great. But a lot of this does sound kind of gimmicky, and, with the panning and the effects kind of turned up louder and whatever, but yeah, it was a great kind of curio. Listen, the quadraphonic version of Black Sabbath's Paranoid. Again, never heard it before. The main thing that I took away from this, though, that was kind of interesting is the end of War Pigs. If you're a fan of Black Sabbath or you know the song War Pigs, you know that at the end they have a tape speed up where they just speed up the tape really fast and then the song ends. On this quadraphonic version, it doesn't do that. It just has a natural ending. It just ends like they're just playing and then they play the part. It doesn't speed up. So it's not as interesting. It just kind of it's kind of an anticlimax, really, because you're expecting that, and they just kind of play. And again, this is more of a curio, but I'm really glad this was in the collection, the quadraphonic version of Black Sabbath Paranoid. Also got Dust, not only this one, but their next one too, Heart Attack. Have not fully engaged with that one yet. Just heard one side, but I've heard this one a couple of times. It was great to finally hear this after seeing the cover for years and not really sure what it was. I've heard this described as heavy metal. I've heard it described as psych rock. It's none of that. It's basically hard blues rock. A lot of it, especially the side 1 songs, are just your hard blues rock. They're great. A lot of talented musicians in here. You've got the guy who would later become Marky Ramone on drums. He also he played with different bands as well. His name is Mark Bell. And he even actually kind of looks in his Marky Ramone look there on the back cover, but co-produced by Kenny Kerner, who did a lot of the early Kiss stuff and went on to do all kinds of multi-platinum albums. But this is kind of where he cut his teeth on this Dust record. I think it would have been more popular if it wasn't for this like mummified cover there. It really makes it look like a dark like death metal album, but that wasn't a thing back in 1971 or whatever. But yeah, blues rock on side 1. Side 2 is a lot more interesting, a little more adventurous. The song about the camel, from a dry camel. I'm not really sure what's going on in that song with those lyrics, but I got a full review of this on my Instagram page, Robert Fithin Vinyl. But yeah, I was glad to finally have this. And this is the original pink Kama Sutra label for that too. And super clean, just like all of these are very, very clean. Very well taken care of. Psychic Visions from the Underground. This is another one I'd kind of seen around and didn't know much about. I had just assumed for years that this was one of those compilations of the big psychedelic hits of the time. It's not. It's one of those knockoff albums, and the band is called The Underground. Now, again, I reviewed this in full on my Instagram page as well, but has Psychotic Reaction, the Isley Brothers Shout, a cover of that. We Ain't Got Nothing Yet, a cover of the Blues Magoos song, Turn On Your Love Light. You know, a lot of Tobacco Road, of course, is on here. I think that's a rule that all these bands have to do, Tobacco Road. I don't know how long that road is, but it seems like every garage psych band grew up on Tobacco Road. But yeah, the Underground is what they're called, and they're basically an unknown band. Nobody really knows who they were. It's never been divulged who they are. It's a lot of studio musicians. This is on the Mercury Wing label, which Wing is like the budget version of Mercury. And they do great with the covers, man. They really do an excellent job with, especially Psychotic Reaction. I don't dare say it sounds better than the original version from Count 5, but maybe it does. But yeah, they do a great job. They got some original instrumentals on here as well. They do a take on Danny Boy, if you can believe that. But definitely pick this up. It's not just your usual dry run through cash grab, you know, of we're going to get a band together and do some psychedelic covers. But these guys actually sound like they've really put their heart and soul into it. They do a really good job. The Underground and Psychedelic Visions. Glad I picked this up as well. Got I almost said Frank Sinatra. Frank Zappa's Apostrophe album, still in the shrink wrap. You rarely see Frank Zappa and Mothers of Invention albums in great condition, but this excellent condition here. There's the blank inner sleeve. I don't know why I pulled that out, but excellent condition. Like I said, still in the shrink wrap. This is probably his most, I guess, commercial album. This one and Overnight Sensation kind of go together. But this is the one for like the junior high kids that want to hear about Don't Eat the Yellow Snow. Oh, eat the yellow thing, got pee in it. And Stink Foot. Let's talk about stinky feet. You know, this is one's for the kids' table. Frank Zappa for the kids' table. I do like the guitar solo on. I think it's the title track, Apostrophe. But yeah, probably his biggest album is definitely his most commercially accessible. But yeah, Frank Zappa, Apostrophe. I'm not a huge Frank Zappa fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm glad I got this one. You know, if I was going to pick a Frank Zappa album that I didn't already have to get, it would be this one. I'm definitely more into the couple of the Mothers of Invention albums, but I'm not that into Frank Zappa, but I do kind of enjoy parts of that one. Ike Tina in the St. Louis area. Got some Ike Tina, this Dynamite, which is in great condition. I've seen this so like scuffed and torn apart and gone through hell, you know, copies of this, but this is a really good one. And the soul of Ike Tina. I don't know. I love Tina Turner. I love her soulful voice. It's hard to listen to Ike though, because you kind of know what happened with those two and what was going on at the time. So he just comes off as a jerk every time I hear his voice. But Essential Records anyway for that great gritty kind of R&B sound, and glad I got these two. I've got plenty of others, but coincidentally I didn't have these, and now I do, out of that collection. Here's one, Fleetwood Mac Rumors. Now, why in the world am I showing Fleetwood Mac Rumors? Everybody has this. It's nothing special. I just want to show this one because, like I said before, I was able to not only have some stuff like I showed that I didn't have before that was pretty incredible, but I was actually able to update some records in my collection that I had before, the better copies. And this sounds incredible. This is a Monarch pressing. It's not even a first pressing, it's a second pressing from 1977. It has kind of a later hype sticker on there about it being a part of the Recording Arts and Sciences official selection album of the year. But it's a second Monarch pressing from 77. And it just sounds incredible. I've never heard Rumors sound so good. So if you're a big fan of this album and you want a really excellent sounding version, but you know, I've heard the Mobile Fidelity one. It's okay. Like a lot of the Mo-Fi stuff from this time, it brings down the mid-range and just beefs up the bass. This sounds very natural, though. Just incredible sounding. And I definitely replaced the just kind of generic. I think I had a Winchester pressing of this. Definitely replaced that with this one. If you want a great pressing of this and you don't want to pay for like the Nautilus one, I've never heard that one, or whatever, some sort of, I don't know, super audio fidelity one that just came out. Try to grab the Monarch pressing. I'm assuming the first pressing of this sounds great too, but either the first or the second pressing of this sounds incredible if you're a big Fleetwood Mac Rumors fan. Got the Kinks first album, the US version, called You Really Got Me. I was a real big fan of the Kinks debut when I used to stream it all the time, but you know, never wanted to go ahead and shell out the big bucks for the UK version. This one, of course, like all good US versions, omits like 3 songs, but still has the heart of the debut. And again, one that I've never seen that many times out in the wild, as it's called. But you know, again, great copy of this, very very clean. as a lot of these are. And yeah, they really took care of these in this collection. And like I said, I got about probably 175, 180 records in there. I'm going to keep about 70 or 80 of them. There's ones in there that I, already had, didn't really need to replace. And then I'm going to get rid of my replacement ones and that I had. And then there's ones in there that I just didn't really care for. A lot of comps and stuff like that. So, but that leads me to my question with this record collection. Am I creepy? Because when I bought this collection, I've never bought a collection so huge before where I bought somebody's entire collection, and they took such great care of them, and they lived kind of close. And I was talking to the person selling them, and they said, yeah, the couple passed away, and so they brought in us to sell all their stuff, and the record collection was just a small part of, they were selling everything. And it kind of got my curiosity going, and I kind of wondered, well, who were these people? The couple passed away. What does that mean? Was there a horrible accident or something like that? Turns out there wasn't. The husband died about 7 years ago, and the wife just recently passed away. And so I did a little bit of investigating based on their address. I went online and did a reverse address and found out who they were, kind of looked them up and found out some things about them. Is that creepy? Am I creepy for doing that? Is that where are in the comments? Where am I on the creepy scale for doing that? Is it creepy, or is it heartfelt and sentimental? Is it in the middle? Am I kind of weird? I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. But I just thought it was really interesting. I looked them up. I found the man's obituary, and he was, the couple were a couple of rock and rollers, which was great. They did pass away later on in life. I'm assuming of natural causes. I think he passed away in his late 60s, and she was in her mid 70s. And yeah, I just they were. I got to know a little bit about them based on reading obituaries and things like that. And they didn't have any children to pass their stuff on to, so I guess that's why they were selling all of this. The estate came in and it sold all this stuff, but it was just really interesting to find out because it's a record collection, and I think these were for a lot of these records, they were probably the only owners. You buy so many records at flea markets and online and record stores that have probably been passed through, 6 or 7 different people. These seem like they were all this couple's records from day one. A lot of them still in the shrink wrap with the price sticker on there. A lot of them from Record Bar. Like they were the ones that bought them. They kept them all these years, and now I have them. So I'm glad I'm keeping a bulk of the collection together. It seems like the respectful thing to do. But yeah, the guy was, I don't want to get too into, I don't want to divulge too much and give away, and I don't think it's my right to do that. But I just want to say he seemed like a really great guy, and the woman as well. And like I said, a couple of rock and rollers from early on. It was really interesting for me to find out whose records I had. But again, does that make me creepy? Am I creepy for doing that? Is that creepy? I don't know. But as I was listening to a lot of these, because I saw the man's picture, and I kind of had his mental image in my mind, and I don't know. I don't know. I was getting a lot out of it, and I don't know these people, and I don't know if I invaded their privacy or whatever, but I just want to know what you think about that. And one last thing they did throw in a box of 8 tracks with a lot of great rock titles in there. Usually you see 8 tracks, it's the same old boring stuff, but they actually had some Beatles in there. Abbey Road, Beatles on 8 track, with Her Majesty as song 3. When they do 8 tracks, they have to switch around the running order a lot of time because it's the same piece of tape with 4 different programs on it, so they all have to be the same length. That's the way 8 tracks work. In fact, I'm going to do in the future sometime, maybe a month from now, maybe 3 years from now, I'm going to do a video all about 8 tracks. But you don't put Her Majesty as song 3. It's just a very bizarre listen to some albums on 8 tracks, especially when you're used to hearing them in an order, and they just switch everything around because of timing restrictions. But anyway, threw in a box of 8 tracks. Well over 100 records in this collection, and am I creepy for looking up the original owners? That's my question. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I am Robert Fitton, and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.